Make a date with Rev Dr Ebenezer Markwei at 6 a.m. from Monday to Saturday on Graphic Online via Facebook and YouTube as he expounds on matters of faith.
I'd like to capture my thought this morning, still on the story of Joseph, with the words, promotion speed ramps. You know, promotion speed ramps. I remember a couple of years ago, I was going somewhere and I was in a real hurry and it was nighttime. And I didn't know that, there were some huge speed ramps. I call them abnormal speed ramps because I'm sure they put those speed ramps there for people like me who, when sometimes in a hurry, sometimes you might be a little bit careless. And that speed ramp was at the Legon University campus. And I was in a hurry to go somewhere. And in the course of driving, I didn't pay attention to the speed ramp notice. And then I just went to where the car went up. It was a big bump. And then I could hear the sound of exhaust pipes and all those things. The sound of this thing scraping the street and scraping the speed ramps. And I was saying to myself, oh, wow. You know one thing? Pharaoh gave Joseph the permission to go everywhere. But he placed a limitation on him. He said, I'm giving you the second chariot. Not the first chariot. The first chariot will remain my property. And you will ride the second chariot. What Pharaoh was saying that I will be primus inter pares, the first among equals. And you will play second fiddle to me. Never assume that you are bigger than I am. Never assume that you can do anything you want. Never assume that. You need to understand that there's an authority over you. Don't be filled with pride with what you have in such a way that you can throw away the boundaries or erase the boundaries of respect and reverence. What Pharaoh was saying to Joseph, you ride, but make sure you are riding the second chariot. How interesting it is when people get a little bit of promotion or when somebody are placed in positions of prominence, they forget where they are coming from. And they don't just forget where they're coming from, they begin to undermine the authority of their benefactors. They begin to do things as if they put themselves over there, as if they are the masters of their own destiny. Sometimes they forget God, and not just forget God, but sometimes they also forget humanity. When I'm talking about humanity, those who made it possible for you to be there. Something begins to gnaw at their spirit of humility. Something begins to eat away the garment of humility they must wear. And then all of a sudden, what you see is pride and pomposity, pride and arrogance. And this things, it stinks as high as heaven because they've forgotten where they're coming from. Now, Pharaoh was reminding that Joseph, you can ride anywhere, but be mindful of the speed ramps. What are the speed ramps? Remember that it is the second chariot. Remember and don't walk in pride and don't walk in arrogance. Remember and don't walk in selfishness and foolishness. Remember and don't think that you have made yourself this way. You know one thing? Sometimes we need to acknowledge God. And not just acknowledge God, we must also acknowledge those who help us place us where we are. My very good friend says, do not forget the rock from which you were hewn. Remember where you're coming from. And remember that grace has made it possible. I can tell you boldly without any fear of favor that I am a product of grace. Whatever you see, wherever you see me go, grace has made it possible. You better start singing the song of grace and stop talking at it by your own power and by your own strength and by your own intellect. God has the ability to sometimes raise a fool. God has sometimes the ability to give grace to a donkey to prophesy to a prophet. God can do that. And sometimes he does these things for us to know that he is the only omnipotent person. He has all the power. No wonder the Bible says he gives grace to the humble and resisted the proud. Joseph, make sure you mind the speed ramps. In your life journey towards success or after success, remember that there should always be speed ramps to check you, to remind you that when it comes to certain things, go slow. Well, the choices are yours. See you later.
please visit our website graphic.com.gh or follow us on Facebook at Daily Graphic and on YouTube and Twitter at GraphicGH.
Subscribe now.